as an actor, or you take on these roles in these different lives, and it's hard. Sometimes it might be like, oh, I don't understand what this is. I don't really have a major connection to this. Well,
Right.
but you're trying to reach that life that's on the page, then you have to do the best you can to study and take on that challenge of, oh, can I do this? I think it's like, can you do this? Can I make it? Can I do that? And when you accept that challenge, you're like, I'm gonna give it all I can to see if I can risk it or lose it.
Welcome back to the Corner Talks podcast. I have my good friend here.
How's it going, man? Happy to be back.
No, it shouldn't be about anything. Like, this is one life.
Yep, one life? Like, fucking do it.
My guy.
But she just got it. She totally understood it.
20 years old when I started just watching a lot of movies.
And it tells a story. I want to tell a story.
Very good friend, talented actor and filmmaker, Obi Obikudu. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Good, man. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. So Obi, you and I, we've collaborated before, for those that don't know, on an upcoming project called Demon. Hasn't been seen by anyone yet, but it was an honor. It was a pleasure to be working with you. I always enjoy reaching out to new actors and having them portray my characters that I write, and I thought you did a masterful job.
Likewise, likewise. I enjoyed the script. I enjoyed working on the set, and I thought that as a director, you have a vision, you executed what you thought, and then it all, you're a good leader is what it is. So I thought all of that
Thank
was
you.
a good set.
Thank you. That truly means a lot to me, Obi. I remember actually those conversations we had together, and you were in a very serious matter. You're pulling me aside saying like, buddy, you got this. Like, you have something going for you. Like, I remember you saying something crazy. Like, I see you on like a Wikipedia page, like list of directors. Like, I just see you being like someone that you would look up, you know what I mean? And like kind of learn more about. So, yeah, man, you're very kind to me and I appreciate that. And, yeah, you showed up, you did your part. And like I said, I was impressed by your talent and your professionalism as an actor. And I became even further invested in your artistic career. So between the takes of the film production, we often discussed our experiences in the industry and the goals we set for ourselves going forward. And I want to know from you, like, why did you decide to become an actor?
Oh man, I wanted to be an actor ever since I was like 13, and the
Wow.
reason
Okay.
kind of funny that I know I was with a friend of mine, and he wanted to be an actor, and I was kind of like goofing around. I was like, I don't really know what I want to do with my life, and then like he said, he wants to be an actor, and I'm like, oh crap, I watch a lot of films too. I'm like, yeah, should let me be an actor, and it makes sense because my dad, he's an artist, so he's a musician, and he like that's kind of what I grew up on, and he loves films, and he acted in church and did all that stuff, so I was exposed to that that sense. And then it's kind of made sense. So when I came over to Canada, and I'm like, oh, well, I did a play back back in Tunis. And then when I came to Canada, I furthered on with acting, and then I kind of put that to the side,
Yeah.
kind of focused on basketball, and then you know, and then I came back to it, and I came back strong. And I'm like, it's been 7 years training nonstop, reading nonstop, just trying to really grow it, just grow in this craft and try to understand this craft as best as I can. And I don't think you can ever learn it. And I like you can always, learn it, but you can't ever master it. Because the minute you master it, I think that's the minute you feel like if I say that I know this thing, that's the minute I feel like you've kind of like plateaued. You don't really understand what this is anymore. You know.
Yeah, I
So
admire that about you, right? Like you're always looking for improvement and you're humble enough to say, like, we got to keep going. We got to keep learning from our experiences, right? Our setbacks. Would you describe this as like a first love, like acting? Because it's like early
acting,
in your life?
yeah, I mean I feel like that's the first thing that I was like when I said I want to do this. When
Yeah.
like funny because I was 13, I'm like I want to do this. So like yeah, that was the first thing that gave me like, oh crap, I want to do something. And then sports came in. I'm like I love sports, but then like kind of it came full circle because I remember my coach. And one of the guys I was training with, I mean, I didn't train with him for long, but one of like the thing we bonded over was
Right.
the fact that he was an actor and he's a voice coach. And then he like funny enough, it was around and he worked in the movie Hitch with Will Smith.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so there's that scene where he's a security guard, and then with the security, like when he's in the museum, and
Yeah.
then the person that the security guard in the museum was my coach that I was training with. I'm like, oh, it feels like this is the path that I'm meant to go on. So I was like,
Right. Right.
I kind of just added on, and then when I finished second year university, and I'm like, this is not finished. When I was in second year university, like right beginning, like as I was starting, I'm like, I want to go down this. Like I want to go back and do this thing. It was like an inner voice that came, and I'm like, I want to go down and do this thing, this acting thing. Let me go back to it. And then I've been full steam ever since. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, like because most people would describe their creative ambitions as like passions. And you describe it as like almost like a calling. That's how I kind of like see directing, right? This is something that I've wanted as a child, and as I explore more and more, right? As I invest myself more in the craft, I realize like this is all I want to do. This is like what speaks to me, and that's why I took it very personal what you said to me, like the compliment about being a leader. I see myself as that, right? And you often become the things you envision, and that's how I manifest everything that I've acquired today, right? It's kind of like you got to project and put yourself in that position, because no one else is going to do it or see it for yourself, right? And yeah, it's been a journey for myself, right? Like I should mention, being speaking about the leadership position, like how you describe, I always kind of like saw myself as a leader growing up, but there have been times that proved to be differently, right? Because whether it's peer pressure or the feeling the need to fit in, but I found my identity with filmmaking, and that's what kind of led me to this leadership role. Just kind of like taking control of the vision, seeing it all the way through, and assembling the right team with individuals like yourself to serve it justice, right? So I really admire that, man. Like it is. It sounds more poetic, right? When you say it's a calling as opposed to something.
Those weren't my words. I didn't say it was
No, but I'm saying like, oh yeah, you're right. But in my head, I'm thinking like, is that how you feel though, or am I just putting your words in your mouth? Like, do you feel it's a calling?
I mean, maybe, but it was more like, I don't know. This is one thing. Like, if I say I want to do something, I want to do it. And if it's like a thing that I enjoy, then it's, like, then it's not work. It doesn't feel like anything. It's like I want to do this thing. So it's like
yes. So this is like it was an endeavor. Yeah, it was something you wanted to explore. Yeah.
Not even I wanted to dive full on into it. But
okay.
But then from acting, it kind of like, it blossomed into, different things. And then you take this path and you start with martial arts. Then you go into like understanding more about film and then the editing process and directing and the entire thing. So it kind of like, it blossomed and it changes, but it all started from that, initial, and I guess you can call it film,
yeah, cinema, yeah. Now, why did acting make you branch off into martial arts? You were saying, like, what was it about?
Oh, one, it was like looking at like I was getting, I like to move because again I like sports, but then what stood out to me the most is the performance, not the performance aspect of it, but then there's a discipline in martial arts, and then even though it's like, okay, I not to sound weird or crazy, and I'm not sure if anyone understands this, but I feel like art, depending on whichever art you choose to, partake in, it's like a gateway, it's a gateway to something. And it's like, like acting took me on this journey, and I'm like, oh crap. And it led to this other thing where you want to explore this, kind of art form. And then it's like, it just takes you to another place where you want to explore like clay making or like pottery making with like, clay. That's an art form. Swordmanship, that's an art form. All these just kind of took you down this different, forms of trying to understand this thing that we call life, Life.
No, for sure. Yeah. I enjoy that you said that because again, with film, I always thought I'd be like the guy just responsible for being a director or just writing scripts, and that was it, right? I didn't think it would allow me to explore other facets of life or encourage me, that is, right? And like,
especially because,
go ahead.
Sorry, but like as a filmmaker or like as a director, I feel like understanding like different people and different,
of course,
lives, allows you to, create more interesting dynamic stories, right?
Yeah, authentic stories, right? Like for me, and you said it right on the head, right? It's like, for the longest time, especially my early 20s, I was just writing. I never picked up a camera, right? So that led me eventually to the desire to be a director. And how did that happen, right? So you pick up a camera, and then eventually you start attracting people, and you start working with people that are like-minded, of the same craft, the same discipline. But then I transitioned into a period where I realized, I just write and direct little short films, but it's like, what can I do more? How can I progress? How can I elevate my brand, right? Especially in a digital age that we live in now, with social media being so prevalent. So that's what led me to 94 Productions, right? And then that's how I started this podcast, for instance. And this podcast, like you said, allows me to, explore and understand different people so I can enhance the dynamics, right? The relationships that I have. And telling more meaningful and impactful and ultimately, I should say, authentic stories. And I really, owe it to that fact of filmmaking, right? It's that in order to become the best possible, right? The best version of an artist is to explore different facets that make you well-rounded as opposed to narrow-minded, right? And that goes back to yourself, where you're not just an actor. You're like, before the podcast, you were telling me how you dabble in different disciplines, right? In different professions, hobbies, and other kind of like, areas and activities of your life.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. So that's really cool. And I want to know, like, what steps did you take for yourself to ensure you would be successful in the artistic profession of acting?
Oh man, the first thing I like, it's kind of a, not to give you like a long-winded story, but
No,
the
no,
first
but that's why we're here.
oh man, I first came in and I'm like, oh crap, so how do you get into this act? Like, I want to be an actor, so what are the steps to be an actor? So I'm like, find an agent, and then which some people like to do, but personally for me, when I was looking around and I found a bunch of people that kind of like were scammers in the industry. So I got scammed pretty hard, like kind of like out of money and stuff. And then it kind of like led me down this, like I was annoyed, and then then I'm like, classes, crap, go to acting classes. So I was lucky enough to meet a coach that I think kind of changed my perspective on life and changed my perspective on, or taught me this acting thing, or the best way I feel like I could understand it. So he's been a great coach for me. And then I thought, then there's training and understanding that, well, you're in this class and you're learning about this, craft, and then you have to, you have to read, you have to, listen, you have to, there's all these things. So I think to break it down, it was classes and training. I think training, gets everyone better. And you have to enjoy the training, at least for me, you have to enjoy the training process, because the training process is what builds you up and gives you all the skills and intangibles you need, so that when you take it to, the actual performance of it, well, a lot more. It's like learning, if you're playing basketball and you hit the gym and you're training like 5 times a week, 4 hours a day, so when you actually, you might not like the drills you're doing, but you're doing all these drills so that when you go into the game, all those drills that you've been practicing can be applied in the game, in this real thing that you're, prepping for. So I think training is the best, is kind of like the steps I've been taking, or the steps that I think are important to take to get you to, that took me down this act, like, as a better, I think I answered your question.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. Like, what you're basically saying is that instead of just kind of throwing yourself in the audition room, you took the necessary steps with training, which is disciplining yourself in the arts and outside of it, to become the best version of an actor, right? To make you prepared, because that's what it is, right? Like, you got to be prepared before you go into these auditions. You can't just kind of wing it. And it makes more sense.
I forget who wrote it.
Sorry, what was that?
There's a book called The Actor Prepares. I forget
Okay.
who wrote it, but it's like a famous. I'm not sure if it's, but like, it's a good acting book. So an acting, like, you use the word prepared or preparation. I'm like, yeah, there's a
For
reason
sure.
why.
No, for sure, man. No, it's like with anything, right? It's like the Project Demon, right? We were talking about. It's like the amount of preparation for a year that I had to put in for just a 2-day shoot. It's insane, right? But at the same time, it's necessary to achieve the best results, and that's where it comes into, right? Like, you have to, if it means like adopting a new hobby, like you said yourself, martial arts, right? A new discipline where it teaches you about training, it teaches you about focusing the mind and achieving the best version of yourself, then so be it, right? I think I was asking too because I remember you were discussing about EVN Film Studios. I wasn't sure how that played a part. Was that from the beginning, or is that like more recent in your career?
So, again, I was second year, and then I was like trying to find this, trying to find that. And then summertime came, and then I found EVN Studios, and then I just started training ever since.
That's awesome.
I think that was the catalyst.
And what? And they're just like an acting school kind of thing, or are they a production house? Or
no, it's an acting school.
Okay.
Like, yeah, acting school. So we've been doing that for like
Awesome.
7 years now, and yeah, man, shout out to Earl.
Yeah. That's where you met another fellow colleague, Connie Mew, who was the star act of War. Yeah. Small world. Eh? For sure. Yeah, she's a good friend of yourself, right? So
yeah, I like to think so. And she's working like right now. She's
oh yeah, She's getting a lot of gigs.
And it's good. And you can,
That's
but
good.
it's funny. We're all hanging out the other day, and
Okay.
we're talking about how, like finally, like feels like we're finally starting to get it. Feels like we're finally starting.
Yeah. Things are opening up. Yeah.
And then it's like 7 years down the line, and it's like, oh crap, maybe just now is like you're understanding what what this craft is about, like now. And it feels like even then there's still more to learn. It's like, it's like shoot, there's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah,
It feels
you're
like
finally discovering the breakthrough. You're feeling it, I mean, for yourself. And I know what that's like, man. Like I've been doing it for a long time now, and I feel like only now I'm like reaping the fruits of my labor kind of thing. And obviously there's setbacks, and when we have those moments, I was discussing with you before the podcast where there's a little bit of an uncertainty, because again, this is not guaranteed. Anything could change on a whim. But yeah, that's why I wanted to ask you for my next question. Like, what motivates you most about pursuing the performing arts despite the multitude of failures, rejections, and setbacks?
Oh man, rejection, failures, and setbacks are like, I know they teach like you can't. Okay, let me not. I feel like I'm not gonna
Yeah.
but challenges. I like challenges, and I
Right.
think, and I feel like I'm just beginning to understand that, as an actor, or you take on these roles and these different lives, and it's hard. It might be like sometimes it might be like, oh, I don't understand what this is. I don't really have a major connection to this. Well,
Right.
but you're trying to reach that life that's on the page, then you have to do the best you can to study and, take on that challenge of, oh, can I do this? I think it's like, can you do this? Can I make it? Can I do that? And when you accept that challenge, you're like, I'm gonna give it all I can to see if I can risk it or lose it. So it's that challenge aspect. It's like, can you do it? And then it kind of like, it's more, at least for me, it's motivational. It's like, the bigger the challenge, the more you have to step up to the plate, and the bigger everything is. So it's like the more you have to really, really, invest yourself and push yourself.
Awesome. Yeah, no, for sure. You have a positive attitude. That's what I love about you, right? Like towards failures, rejections. It's kind of wholesome. Like you don't really, it doesn't really discourage you, right? Because I remember having on set like talks about that. I remember making like quippy little jokes with you about like, making it, and you took it very serious. Like you're like, nah, don't be chasing the vanity. You know what I mean? Like don't be after that. And that stuff will come. You know what I mean? What matters is the art. So yeah, you're very, very serious actor, and you take this craft seriously, right? So that's very respectable. Yeah.
Try to be, I'm trying to be, I'm glad that you said that, and I hope that's trying to be serious about this.
Yeah. No, because I'm always trying to like, I only met you like virtually up until that day, right? So I was just trying to like figure out who you were, and I was just like making jokes and stuff. What? Sorry.
Remember when I first met you? I was like, I think I met this guy before.
Yeah, I know. It's funny as yeah. But because we did meet at Lady of the Night, my other short film on set. But when we first met, you're like, yeah, you look familiar. Yeah. That's right.
Have I met you before? You're like, no, man. I'm naming all these places, and I feel like it's like, oh shoot.
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah. And then I remember, that was so fun, that shoot. And then you were like, because we needed you again for like some insert shots, and you're like, yo, you guys are working. You saw us in the morning, whatever, and you're still working at night. And I was like,
that's like a 12, 14-hour day, man, right? Just grinding on through, man.
Yeah, that was hilarious. I love it. No, but that was a great time, man. And just speaking of like the setbacks and the rejections and failures, as creative individuals, we have the fortune of pursuing our passions, and we are sometimes affected by the negativity and criticism, or even lack of recognition for our works and accomplishments. That's something that gets me down. And the journey can often feel lonely. I'm sure you've had your moments too. Maybe people not understanding your craft, or being in situations where there was no one to lean on. How do you handle the negative experiences or discouraging moments when you work towards your craft? Like, what do you do to overcome it?
I must say, I feel like I feel like I can say confidently that there's never been a time, at least so far, that I'm like, oh, I kind of want to quit. I feel like I've never,
Right.
at least I think there's never been a time when I'm like, I kind of want to quit. It's always been like, oh man, I really want to learn and get better at this, because I feel like I know that eventually, like this, everything in life, I feel like is about endurance. You take things
Yeah.
on, you keep on pedaling, keep on pedaling, keep on pedaling, and you're gonna break down this wall and break down that wall. You're gonna get this knowledge, you're gonna get this, you're gonna get that, you're gonna lose this, you're gonna lose that, but then you just keep on going. And the more you keep on going, eventually, you're gonna reach that place that you want to reach.
Right.
And in fact, not even reach, you might even surpass that.
Yeah.
In the small tidbits that I've had in my, at least not in my career, but in my life, I feel like it's taught me that, the more you stick with something, eventually, maybe some things you have to kind of put aside. Other things, it's like things that you enjoy and you like, and you're like, I want to get this. Then you keep on going, and eventually, if you do it smart and you do it right, I think if you chase the right things, not chase the right things, then it'll be good for you. You'd be good to the game will be good back to you. So I just know that, I hope I'm answering your question and I'm not giving a long-winded answer. But someone once told me that your negatives are more positive than your positives, right? So that just means that the bad things that you go through oftentimes teach you or are more beneficial to you than some of the good things that happen. Because the negatives kind of teach you about, oh crap, they teach you. They're lessons. And sometimes the big lessons you need to move you forward are the ones that are like hit you on your ass, and those are the ones that you need to snap. Those are the ones that move you in a direction that's in a forward direction. If you, at least to me, if you listen properly. So it's like the more that's kind of how I've been dealing with the whole thing. It's like, oh, the negatives are more positive than your positive.
Yeah, you got to be a good listener for sure, and I love that. I never actually heard that notion. I took it as when you first said it, that if you're negative, you'll attract that. Like it's more potent than it is positivity. But at the end of the day, like when a negative moment happens to you, not that you're negative in the situation, but when you experience a negative scenario, that proves to be a lesson, right? And it's how you interpret it. You can choose to suffer in that moment, or you can choose to overcome it, right? And it's optional, right? The pain is guaranteed, but how you experience it is optional. So I really admire what you said, right? And that's how we kind of get through in any aspect of life, right? That's why I enjoy the profession. I'm sure you do as well. Is it teaches you a lot of heartbreak and setbacks and just discouraging moments, right? But they toughen you, right? They harden you for whatever life has to offer. Like if you're pursuing something that you care most about, your dream, your passion, and it's not panning out the way you seek it out to be, or you have to go through all the woes of it. When something that's outside of something you really care about happens, you'll know how to deal with it right away. You know what I mean? You won't be affected by every little thing. That's important, I think, in this day and age. I just have like a tough exterior, and being able to be resilient, because life again is full of ups and downs, and we got to navigate through it. So yeah, sorry, go ahead.
And in this art form that we're in, or in this life that we're in, you have to be very vulnerable. I feel like as an artist or as a creative, you have to be very vulnerable to outside opinion. But then you can't let outside opinion kind of like deter you from what you think and what is right for you. So it's like the more vulnerable you are, vulnerability can actually be a very big strength, because the more vulnerable you are and the more you can take things and not let them stick to you or like keep you down, and you just like, it's like water off your back. The more vulnerable you are, the more stronger, the more, I feel like the more strength you can have. Vulnerability is a strength. It's not a weakness. At least that's what I'm beginning to, at least that's what I'm hoping, or what I'm learning. I may be wrong.
Yeah.
Right now, I feel like that's it.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you said that, because too many times, again, like people, the longest time when I was growing up, vulnerability was seen as weakness, and vulnerability allows you to be in touch with yourself and also others, right? Like figure out the human condition. You know what I mean? How to become, especially in our profession, right? Like being an artist. It's actually baffling to me when I do come across actors or directors, and they're very tough, very isolated. They have like a cold approach to them, and that's fine, right? Maybe it's just their demeanor, but you start to like have conversations with them and you realize like that's just their outlook on life, and it's like that's why the work suffers, right? Because like when you approach a project, right, and you're like, let's say, writing a female perspective on a character, like females are gonna know like if it is plausible or not, like authentic, and how you write the dialogue, right? And what I mean by this is if you're not in touch with the people around you and yourself, and like just like you were saying, listening and being observant of your surroundings, you'll miss that. That you'll miss that critical aspect that makes them these characters unique or stand out. And not only will the actors detect that, or the people on set that you're working with detect that, but the audience, right? At the end of the day, they're going to be the last line, right? And they're going to tell you if the project was successful, and not the people that you worked with. So I really admire what you were saying. You know, it's just about being vulnerable and being accessible, and that's what I kind of approached coming on set. I kind of exude that vulnerability. I show everyone that I'm approachable. You can talk to me. We can figure it out together. Because at the end of the day, creativity is such a fine line, a fine balance. And I think I was explaining this to you, where if I get upset about like everything and just throw my hands up and get frustrated, no one wins, and you just kill more energy that could be used to creating a great project, right? So that's why I had to keep it in check, and I guess that's what you meant by having those right leadership skills. Be present, and I'm starting to see like how they become most effective, for sure. Yeah, man. So speaking of like the projects we worked on and things like that, I want to know from you, like, what values as an artist do you strive to be reflected in the work that you produce?
Sorry, say that one more time.
What values as an artist, or I should say an actor, do you strive to be reflected in the work that you produce? So you speak a lot about, self-discipline, and you speak a lot about being vulnerable. Are there roles that you wish to portray, desire to portray, that reflect that?
I mean, the roles that I want to portray, and I love to, dab with my hands, and
Right.
but do I think that the role itself calls for discipline or self-discipline in them? No, I think it's more so just the 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 discipline comes from wanting to learn the craft,
Mhm.
from pursuing the craft, and then the roles that you get are the things that you want to, you know, do. So I feel like like I don't think.
No, no. Let me
Yeah,
clarify
yeah.
what I
Clarify
meant
the
by,
word.
like, for example,
Huh?
yeah, for example, like, because speaking from just based off this conversation, I noticed that you just finished saying vulnerability is something that you hold close to your heart, like it's something that you value in yourself and in people. And I want to know from you, like, because there's actors that they want to do maybe an action movie, right? They wanted to just play the tough guy all the time. Are there roles that you're currently seeking, or you've done in the past, or you aspire to portray, that display like the benefits of being vulnerable, or characters that are vulnerable, like the underdog? Like, are there values that you practice in your life, that you possess in your life, that you'd like to be reflected in the roles you portray?
Um. Okay, I think I understand.
Yeah.
I want to say I I want to show strength.
Hmm.
Like,
Okay.
you want to choose strong characters. You want
Right.
to be, people that, like, let's say you want to play a bad guy, then that's fine. You want to play a good guy, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
as long as you exude this level of, you're not to say you're weak, but you want to be, you want to portray strength. I look at guys like Sidney Poitier, and a
Yeah.
lot
Of
of his
course.
roles, he's a strong man in a lot of those roles. They're very
Oh, of
different.
course. Yeah.
You
Very
get
tough.
someone like
Yeah.
Daniel Day Lewis, who's a phenomenal actor. I think you look at him, and then all of his roles he's a very strong person. If you look at what was the movie, My Left Foot,
Oh,
he's
yeah. Yeah.
paraplegic, but then that paraplegic is not, he's, yeah, there's a lot of things that he's had to, you know, having to be carried around and have no sense of, I can't do it on my own. I need these other people. Yeah, that can make you weak, but then it's not like you're, walking around with your, shoulders hunched over and your head down. You're very strong. So
Right.
I want to portray characters that are very strong, but at the same time, I want to challenge myself to try and be different. 'Cause, like, in every and I hope, and you just hope, but like you do your best. But then in every character or in every role that I aspire to have or have done, I want them to all be different people, like different lives, It's not just you're seeing Obi in this role, but you're seeing, Damien in Demon. You're seeing, whatever. If you're Alex in Car Chasers, I just made that up. But to have like different, you're putting on different personalities and different lives, and you're showcasing that because I think that's what it means to be an actor. I think Daniel Day-Lewis does a great job of like he's the epitome of what an actor should be because in
Right.
all of the roles, you can't really see Daniel Day-Lewis. You
No.
see all the other lives that he's trying to be, and I think if I be as close to that as possible, then then you're winning. Then you're doing what the craft calls for.
Yeah. No, that's a excellent example because I'll be honest, like growing up, I could never get into acting myself only because I just don't have the conviction. Sorry.
I don't know why.
No, I don't know. Maybe I could, like a lot of people tell me I should pursue, especially when I was down in LA. A lot of people thought I was an actor, but you never know, right? I'm still young, life's short, life's long. I mean, I'm gonna say sorry, I'm not the end of my life. I know life's short. No, but I mean is that I don't know, I just never had the conviction to like sell myself, or maybe sell the person I'm portraying the role to, like the character. But what I'm saying is like learning like Daniel Day-Lewis or like Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight, like those roles to me, when I watch them, I say to myself, wow, like acting is truly like an art. You know what I mean? Like it's something that it requires a certain amount of genius to get to that point. You know what I mean? And it's like you said, like I was watching Gangs in New York and I was thinking of Daniel Day-Lewis and like you said, My Left Foot, and I'm like, these are the same people. That's crazy, man. Like, and this is what I mean, right? Like it's I'm sure he also practices vulnerability, right? Or he's something that's proud of that. So like got my dog down there. He practices vulnerability. So I'm saying like he shows that he sprinkles that in every role, more so maybe in the more benevolent roles like Lincoln, as opposed to There Will Be Blood, right? But yeah, I just have to say, yeah, acting is truly a craft that requires a certain amount of discipline, like you were saying before, and vulnerability for sure to master. I think that's why I struggle with it is as much as I'm vulnerable as a person, like a human being, where I have this conversation and I can open up to you about my life, becoming another character, and being vulnerable to the point where it's believable, is something that I would find a challenge in. But again, like I said, it's still possible, right? It's all about where life kind of where life is headed for me, and how I'm directed there. But I think it's really cool that I think it's important, I should say, sorry, that we practice and we reflect our values in our craft. That's something that I do as a director.
What is something that
Yeah.
What is something that you'd like to portray in your filmmaking? What are
Yeah. Thank you for asking. Yeah, my filmmaking, one of the key things is like self-belief in your a conviction. I also want to portray let me start that again. The things that I would like to have reflected in my films, and what I'm currently doing with a lot of the projects that I've been writing, is the underdog story. I've perceived myself as an underdog in a way. Not that I haven't gotten the privileges of life, but a lot of the things I've experienced didn't really go my way, or didn't go the ways I envisioned growing up, kind of thing. And I've just seen a lot of hardship, and I've experienced it with my family. My family actually experienced it, and I kind of felt that through them. So I've always identified with the underdog, like the guy that's not seen, the guy that's not taken seriously, right? The dark horse. And I want to portray that in my characters. I want to integrate that as much as I can, but I also want to reflect that as an overall brand and an image where people can come to my films and feel welcome, feel comfortable, and feel inspired, I should say, to be better, to become better, right? That's why my slogan for 94 Productions is "Keep the Dream Alive." Is everything really comes back to that, about this kid that didn't know anyone in film, didn't go to film school, but his relentless passion to make it is what pushed him through. So that's something that I always wanted to put, and values of like compassion and kindness, inclusivity. You'll see that a lot as I continue making projects, depending on like the genre and what I seem to develop. They all kind of reflect those kinds of like ideologies, right? So those are things, man. Yeah, those are things I definitely want to reflect. I'm trying to think for the life of me with Demon like, to have that, but essentially that's where the underdog story comes. I don't want to say too much, but you know what happens, right? In the film, and that's where I guess it sneaks up and comes out of me like channels that I'm able to channel it is there's always that character, there's always that notion in the story where it's like someone that felt that they were being mistreated has the upper hand in the end, right? So I've been doing that a lot for sure. Lady of the Night was the same way. Act of War. So as I continue to make these projects, I definitely want to reflect those values. But appreciate you asking me, and definitely happy to be sharing that with the audience.
Question, man. I'm like, damn, it's good.
Yeah, because you worked on the project, so it's more impactful. You actually like you remember, right? You're reflecting on that. Speaking of the project Demon, we've been mentioning it quite frequently on this podcast, so it's only best that we share with the audience some insight. Like I said, we had the fortunate opportunity of collaborating together on the short film called Demon, and you masterfully portrayed the role of Damien, a formidable leader to a group of thieves that ruthlessly questions their loyalty after a heist goes tragically wrong. So I want to know from you, like, why did you choose to portray this character once the script was sent to you?
Oh man, I was like, this is just, it was cool, man. I'm like, this is cool concept. The guy's strong, he's tough, he's fight, he's elite. Like there's just a lot of things that were,
he's mysterious.
Oh man, can I reach this? Can I get this? And it's crazy. I mean, I feel like as an actor, as a in this thing, you always look back and like, oh, I could have done this better. Oh, stop, I could have done.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, man, I enjoyed playing it. I enjoyed being that. But I'm like, damn, looking back, I'm like, I've not watched it yet, and sorry, my bad. I'm really looking forward to seeing it because I'm like, I really want to see how it came out.
Of course, man, of course.
But yeah, man, yeah, it was a really good script. It was a good concept. It was a good idea. And then, I gotta say, when I first stepped onto the set, I'm like I was leaving that. I think when we the next day.
I remember that hiccup.
Professional. I was like, there was like a surge, like a surging of just like fucking excitement. I'm like, this is a team. You guys are like working, like everyone knows it was so professional. This is how you do it. This is how we can. It's not that. I mean, it's hard to do it, but it's not that hard. Just get together. You have people that are smart writers that are.
Everyone was so committed, man. Yeah,
everyone was so freaking committed to that, and I loved it. I loved it so much, man. I left that place feeling like I was on cloud 9.
Bro, everyone was in euphoria, man. Like I enjoyed myself. It was probably like up until that point the best production I ever had as a director. Obviously, we had like a bit of a rough start, like setting up the location and everything like that. But once the ball was rolling, like no, I just like it takes a lot, right? Yeah, no, I'm saying it takes a lot, like with the people, right? Like just setting up, making sure all the sets are working accordingly. But once the ball was rolling, it was rolling, man, and we definitely you'll see it in the project, right? Like I'm really proud of it. Like I said, literally just the finishing touches are being added to make it professional. But the narrative's there. You know what I mean? Like I'm really looking forward. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing yourself on the screen, like how I envisioned you. You know what I mean? Like how I perceive you. I'm saying as the character and how I shot you. So that was amazing, man. How was your experience on set? You were already explaining that it was being professional. Did it contribute to the quality of your performance?
Everyone was there to. I mean, everyone. Again, it was a professional. Well, it was a short film, but it was professional set. That's how it felt. Like everyone knows what they're here for. Everyone knows what they're doing, and it was like, oh, we're just here to create this thing that we enjoy doing. So everyone's open to doing. Like everyone's open, and you're like, we're all just here to do this thing that we love doing. So, like, if we're here to play, then let's just play. And everyone just had that attitude of, yeah, we're taking it seriously, but we're also just playing, and that's the best way to go.
That's awesome, man. And and so I guess are there any lessons that you took from that experience that you've applied to the subsequent projects?
One is, again, always be professional.
Yes,
really goes a long way. Two, always be prepared. Preparedness. What's that saying? I forget. I don't want
to. Luck is preparation meets opportunity, or something. Yeah.
So something along those lines. But the more prepared you are, the like I'm like you look at it, and then let's say you have your lines, right? You've done all your script breakdown. You understand like you're living this life, and you're like, okay, now you take away that script, and you just it comes to playtime,
Yeah.
right? The more prepared you are, the freer you become. So
Yes.
it's like so just always be prepared. That way you're always there. You can just be free. You can just be as loose as you want without, and give truthfulness to the story that's written and to the life that's written. But the more prepared you are, always just be prepared, be professional, and just come in and so you can have fun. The more prepared you are, the more free you become. So that's kind of one of the biggest things I took. I was like, crap. So every time it's like, oh, just be as prepared as I can be. That when you come on set, you just have fun.
Yeah, and with film, what I've learned as a director is you can never be too prepared as much as I try every time. But it's definitely to have something to deliver, have something to bring to the plate than nothing at all, right? And it's so important that I had that, I had that aspect that I brought to the table. So really appreciate you, Obi, for coming onto the podcast and sharing, and sharing your insight, your experiences as an actor, but also your experiences on set working on Demon. I'm really excited for you to see this project and for everyone listening.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be on it. I'm excited for you bringing me on, and I hope we have more projects coming in the future.
100%, man. You already know it. We were talking about that too, actually, when we were on set. So, I'm always down as a director to help out bring projects to life. So, I foresee it in the near future. So thank you again, Obi, for coming on the podcast. Thank you everybody else for listening, and we'll talk soon.